Hi everyone, my name is Isabella Blanchette and my special population is those involved with oncology. So for those of you who don't know, oncology is patients who have cancer and are receiving that types of treatments. Their diagnosis can range from treatable to terminal, and one thing that does make them unique is that they do have the choice between whether they'd like to receive care and whether they'd like to decline care. Some people are even able to go through some treatment and then decide when they would like to stop. Um, Obviously, depending on the type of cancer that the person has, some of them are not treatable, where they are just told that they have a certain amount of time and they just can try to alleviate some of the symptoms. When working with oncology patients, there is such a wide diversity between them in their demographics, where you have people that vary depending on their age, race, gender. It doesn't specifically target a certain demographic, because you have people who are kids who have it, teenagers, young adults, middle-aged people, elderly. It really just doesn't have a specific type, which makes it super unique, because a lot of other medical ailments do target certain populations. A lot of people who have heart disease are typically older. You have people who have sexually transmitted diseases, which are also older, like HIV and whatnot. But this really does have such a wide variety, and it actually impacts a larger amount of the population too, and is the fourth leading cause of death in the United States. When also working with oncology patients, a lot of times people need to work closely with the families too, because a lot of times they're very closely involved in the person's treatment. And oncology patients also are required to make so many changes, especially if they're receiving treatment, to try to either prolong their life, or during treatment they're required to change things like their diet, their energy. A lot of them are unable to live their lives like they normally would. Many people aren't able to work or have to make accommodations, like working from home and not being as out in the environment, because their immune systems are so susceptible to other things. There are many challenges that people who going through oncology treatments have, and one of them is support systems. There are so many studies that show that people often lack some support during these situations, where they may have some support systems, but some support systems also leave because they are unable to handle the side effects or even the absolute consequence of people dying, so they'd rather just get out earlier. A lot also comes with having that diagnosis, because it's not just the medical diagnosis. A lot of people who get the diagnosis also experience depression and anxiety, and have a hard time understanding what their purpose is, why this would happen to them. They also feel like they don't want to be a burden, which is why they also try to distance themselves from people too, to try to make the loss easier if they feel that's the way it's going to go. Another one is the cost of medical treatment, because health insurance will only cover so much, which often leads to a lot of out-of-pocket costs, sometimes from a couple thousand to even more. The treatments are often extremely expensive, and health insurance will only cover so much. And even then, not everyone has health insurance, as depending where they are and where they live. In the United States, not everyone has health insurance, so that's also an issue. And then even when people are getting stuff covered, when they're receiving treatments, they often have to switch treatments, which can mean that the treatments that they were getting are the same price as the ones they need to get, and it just leads to a more complicated system where they aren't getting what they need. In order to be prepared to address the challenges, it's important to know what the challenges are and just like how they influence the person. Like if a person doesn't have health insurance or if they're not able to afford their treatment, like obviously how it's impacting them physically, mentally. Um, the best thing is to be able to try to do as much research with any available resources possible to try to help these people, and also just so you're informed and you can help the clients make those informed decisions. So as far as resources go for a social worker in these situations, some resources are making sure that you have knowledge of the medical issues. So whether that's consulting with the doctors, doing your own independent research, your use of your coworkers is something I can't stress enough, because even in like my own personal experience, talking to my coworkers and being able to use the people who have been in the field has been super useful to me. They know so much about what's going on. Supervision kind of falls under that as well, as we all experience supervision through your different leads. Like even like during when we had field placement, you had supervisors, and they've often spent a lot of time in the field and they know what like can we resources that they can refer you to, different programs, what other like financial benefits, support groups, like other things that would be beneficial to your client. And then for the client, different resources that they are able to utilize. For people who are lacking support, they do have support groups specific to the different type of cancers people are going through. If people are struggling in their faith, if people are looking to find life's meaning, like it doesn't have to be specifically around like cancer support groups. It can just kind of be like whatever they're kind of struggling with. Obviously, the use of any support systems they have, whether it's family, friends, even you could even go as far as like their independent individual therapist, like anything that these people would identify as supports, it's incredibly helpful for them to be able to utilize them. A lot of people who are experiencing treatment often will need home-based care, just because it is a lot of medical things, a lot of medicines. A lot of the side effects of cancer will lead to people being very, they'll, it leads to them needing more support at home because they're not able to be as independent as they once were. And obviously financial support is something that they do need. So being able to sit there and apply for like the state benefits, different programs, and see if there's different ways that they can try to get any kind of financial help that they can. The way that I find is the best to distinguish myself from all the other people involved in these lives. So when people are getting that type of care, they often have so many different people. They have their normal PCP, their oncologists, nurses, and miscellaneous other like medical staff. A lot of them would have like individual therapists, psychiatrists. And so it does seem like a lot of people, and I feel like the best way to explain what my role would be is almost like what like the glue is for all those other departments coming together, like where they all have, all the other departments have their own specific agendas. Like the medical people are working to try to fix all of their medical problems. Your psychiatrist is working on your medication changes and how you're feeling like emotionally. And I feel like as a social worker, your job is to kind of like talk to all of these different people and kind of have them all come together, and you are working on not only addressing like a single topic, but all these other broader topics. Like you're working on making sure that every single one of their needs is met, that their social needs, emotional needs, mental needs, and physical are getting met. And it also requires you to have a deeper emotional connection with these people too, because you're also kind of like a point person for this person. They rely on you. It's expected that you know more about these people, that you're able to sit there and be a good advocate for them. And so you typically end up forming these intense emotional connections with them just because like you are that person. You are the person that they're going to go to if they have any concerns, if they are hesitant towards any other things, like if they have like religious beliefs that's preventing them from getting treatment, or if they're hesitant to try clinical trials or things like that. It's super important. And the Wild article that I read is it just really stresses the importance of having a social worker who's able to sit there and identify all these other topics that need to be addressed, and that the role of the social worker isn't just addressing a single topic, but all these different ones. These are all of my references, and I hope you found my presentation enjoyable, and you can feel free to comment if you have any questions. Thank you.